Hey Ecofictologists, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lovis and it is time for another round of TBR MASH. I think this is my fourth round of this game and I'm absolutely loving it. I am loving that it is pushing me to read a wider range of stories and it's pushing me to read books that might have slipped down my TBR list because my awareness of them faded. It's pushing me to research books, so there are books on my TBR list that I would never even have come across otherwise. And most of all, it means my reading is more diverse in terms of representation, as well as where the author is from, or the character is from, or where the story is set, as well as across age ranges and genres, so I only have positive things to say about my TBR game. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, TBR MASH is my monthly TBR game that I use to choose my monthly reads. Just a roll of the dice and a combination of these prompts. So we've got age category, genre, where in the world the author is from, or the character is from, or the story is set, and some miscellaneous prompts like something happening on social media, or it's in a series, or it's indie published, those kinds of things. A combination of all of those prompts and a little coding to parse my TBR database, and voila, I have some options for monthly reads. I do have a playlist of these linked in the description as well as up here. The March was my first one, so that gives you a better introduction to everything. And April introduces you to my TBR database as well as the bit of code that I wrote to parse the whole thing. Some of you were a bit overwhelmed with the code, so I'm just gonna slip it in to satisfy my nerdiness really, and those of you who said they really enjoyed my code. So don't you worry, there's best of both worlds. So without any more jabbering on from me, let's do roll number one.
Okay, roll number one. 4. Contemporary YA that's independently published, set in Asia.
YA contemporary that's indie published and either the author is from Asia or the story is set in Asia or the character is Asian. This didn't spit out that many options in my TBR database. My database struggled. But it did spit out no entry by Gila Green. Gila Green is Canadian, but right now she lives in Israel. Her parents were Yemenite Israeli and Ashkenazi Canadian. And in her writing, she often writes about racism, immigration, and alienation. In this book in particular, the main character, Yael, she is also Israeli-Canadian and she travels to South Africa to Kruger National Park where she takes part in an elephant conservation program. She lost a brother to a terrorist attack and she goes to kind of deal with the emotional aftermath of that. And while she's there, she comes across elephant poaching and the illegal ivory trade, gets involved with some pretty serious stuff. Because it's set there, it might sound like I'm bending the rules of this prompt, but I definitely think the biracial heritage of the main character as well as the author fulfills this prompt completely. And I kind of like that it encompasses so many areas and issues around the world, so we'll see how it goes. That's no entry by Gila Green.
Okay, roll number 2. 2. Ooh, fantasy. Adult fantasy. Ooh, in a series. Also set in Asia. I was really hoping that would give me Africa because there's a series I need to continue. That would have been perfect for that. Anyway.
Adult fantasy series set in Asia or written by an Asian author. My database spat out a great big nothing for this. A great big fat nothing. Adult fantasy? Sure. Asian adult fantasy in a series? No, don't have it. So that's a hole that I will have to fill. But I have had my eye on Jade City by Fonda for a while. I actually already own the audiobook of it. But the whole series revolves around this one precious resource, Jade, which gives magical powers to those who are able to wield it, and it has become the single most valuable resource of this country, and it has given powers to the families that run this country, and over the course of the series, it starts wars. Wars are fought over this single resource and where it is mined. Now, that reminds me a lot of oil extraction and other precious mining industries in our reality. So I am really intrigued whether I will find some environmental threads in this book. Remember, ecofiction can be different for everyone, and if you find an environmental message or meaning in a book, then congratulations, it's ecofiction to you. That's perfectly fine. So I have a hunch, and I want to find out if I'm right. I want to find out if this series is environmental to me, or whether I'm just trying to force an environmental issue onto everything that I read now. So that is Jade City by Fonda. It's the first in the Greenbone saga. I should have mentioned that, considering the prompt was for a series. It is the first in the Greenbone saga.
Okay, rule number 3. 3. Contemporary YA in a series in North America.
We're back to YA, a YA contemporary series set in North America or written by a North American author. This month, TBR MASH is really putting my TBR database to shame, putting us through our paces. Again, it did not spit out a clear title that matched all of the prompts, but it did spit out The Lightning Tree, which is the first book in the NI Revolution trilogy written by Lene Fogelberg. It markets itself as contemporary YA trilogy with a bit of magical realism, so if that's how they're marketing it, that's how it goes into my database. So if the element of magical realism is enough to make it fantasy for you, sorry. But if they market it as contemporary, that's how I'm going to put it in the database. And the whole trilogy is about the point where nature starts fighting back. NI stands for natural intelligence. Nowhere in the description can I actually find where this book is based. I don't know where it takes place, so I can't actually say whether it's set in North America or not. We're just gonna have to find out. The author herself is Swedish, so that doesn't really fulfill the prompt either, but you know what? It was the only YA contemporary series that I have in my database. So I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna go with getting as close to the prompt as I can. So that's The Lightning Tree, the first in the NI Revolution trilogy written by Lene Fogelberg.
And now to find out what I will be drinking and where I will be reading. Whoops. Okay. Too much vigor, but it was a 6. Ooh. I'll be drinking tea on the sofa. That sounds cozy.
And it looks like I will be drinking lots of tea on the sofa. I think I can manage that. That might have been the trickiest round of TBR MASH yet. My TBR database was not prepared for these prompts. It was not prepared. I need your help. I need your help. These prompts are going to come up again, inevitably. And clearly, I am woefully unprepared for them. So if you have any titles that would match these prompts, please tell me. Please tell me. I want them. Of course, I'm still working on getting my entire TBR list into the database, so there are only like 250 titles in there, but surely I will find something for every combination of prompt. But I'm gonna struggle, so help is needed. I'm also kind of disappointed that TBR MASH didn't give me calendar or social media. It has come up every month so far, and series hasn't really come up once, and now I get 2 series in a day and no social media or calendar. I'm a little miffed because June is Pride Month, so there will be readathons galore, and I wanted to read some stories with some LGBT representation. So I'm gonna have to read outside of my TBR MASH list, which means I have to read more than 3 books a month. We'll see how that goes. Challenge accepted. I have had a look, and Jade City does have a gay character, but it's not the main character, and it looks like More of that storyline happens in the second book rather than the first book, but there is a little bit of representation there. It doesn't look like the other two have, so yeah, I'm gonna have to find that representation outside of my TBR MASH list. If only Jade City wasn't so bloody long. The audiobook is like 19 hours long. So those are my 3 reads for this month. I'll be reading No Entry by Gila Green, Jade City by Fonda, and Lightning Tree by Lene Fogelberg. What are you reading this month, and how do you choose what to read this month? Are you a mood reader, or do you have some kind of system, or are you following a challenge for the year? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post every Wednesday all about reading and writing. It's one thing now. Reading and writing ecofiction and how it can be used as a science communication tool. If you like what I do and would like to support me, then head on over to patreon.com/Ecofictology and become a patron, where your monthly donations buy me books, but also support Love the Oceans, a marine conservation organization operating out of Mozambique. If you want some community around your ecofiction, then head on over to Rewelding Our Stories, a Discord server for ecofiction nerds, basically, of all kinds. Everyone is welcome. Come join us. Invite link is in the description below. And that is all from me. So happy reading, and I'll be seeing you next week, Ecofictologists.